So it's recently been announced that the Halo show, aka Master Chiefs Incorporated, has actually been picked up by Netflix. After 2 seasons of absolute shite on Paramount Plus, it's looking as if there is potential for a 3rd season to be made, obviously funded by a Netflix budget. Now personally, I absolutely despise this show. I'll be completely honest, as a massive Halo fan, I found it just absolutely atrocious. It genuinely inspired the creation of this channel when it got cancelled. That's how bad I think it is. So for me, I genuinely think that a 3rd season shouldn't even be conceptualised, let alone actually be in the running to be created. However, if this is to be the case and we are going to see more from this quote-unquote show, what can we expect to see in a Season 3? And what can the creators do to improve upon the absolute failure of the last 2 seasons? Realistically, the first thing that needs to be done if they're going to actually persist with this Halo TV show is they need to generate it more to the source material. I mean, throughout the course of that Season 1 and Season 2 that we've already seen, holy shit, there is some random ass story beats going on. We've got an entire subplot about, what was her name, Quan? Fucking Quan? What does she do? Genuinely, I don't understand the purpose of that whole storyline, that whole character. It takes up half of the pissing show, and it's just nothing. There's no substance to her. It's such a one-note character. When it comes to a Halo TV show, you're obviously going to want to focus it around the core characters of Halo, right? So, your Master Chiefs, your Cortanas, Keys, Halsey, etc. No one knows about Quan. No one gives a shit about Quan. You've got to target the show at the audience, which, funnily enough, is fans of Halo. And no fans of Halo really care about watching Quan. We want to see Chief. And speaking of Chief, or Cheeks, whatever you want to call him in this show, I don't think the actor, I think it's Pablo Schreiber or something, I don't think he was bad at all, genuinely. I think given the material he was given, he did a good enough job, and I did kind of buy it, especially when he was in the armour, but that's a big issue for me. I understand that in the Halo TV show, he takes his helmet off, you see who he is. That's cool, I'm not really too arsed about that. However, I want to see him in his armour sometimes. This guy is waltzing around in practically fucking black spandex for half of the show, and he's in the middle of an intergalactic fucking war zone. Like, you're a Spartan, you're meant to have this really high-tech armour on a lot of the time. And I understand they obviously want Pablo to get his limelight and his exposure and all that, and that's all very well and good, but you can still generate feeling without facial expressions, if that makes sense. Like when you're watching cutscenes of Chief in the games, you can tell when he's sad, you can tell when he's pissed off, you can tell when he's a bit chipper and a bit chirpy, and that's all just from dialogue. That's not from actually visually seeing his face, because you never do. And speaking of taking his armour off, I really didn't expect to see his ass while he was mid-banging some Covenant chick. That's a whole other subplot. I forgot about her. What was it? Was it Mako? I honestly don't remember because I don't want to rewatch the show. But the Covenant lady who was like an assassin with a little energy sword, like nail. Batshit crazy storytelling. Like, you think of a Halo show, you just think of the core games. You don't think of these abstract things. I mean, maybe they're in the lore somewhere. I genuinely don't know. I'm not a full lore fanatic. And generally speaking, as concepts, there is something there that can work. It was just handled so poorly. I feel like if you want to tell stories like this in a sci-fi setting, and they're not really anything to do with Halo because they're not, just create a sci-fi show and take influences from Halo and like Star Trek and Star Wars, whatever else you want to. You don't have to make a Halo show. They literally decided to make an entire silver timeline so it was nothing to do with the game, so they could do their own thing. If you want to do your own thing so badly, why attach it to the Halo universe at all? Just make a different show. I get that Halo sells and it's obviously a big name and stuff, but you're selling to a Halo crowd that didn't like anything that you guys did. The only thing I will give the show a little bit of credit for is the fact that it did seem to improve a little bit with Season 2. Don't get me wrong, I feel like the damage was already done with Season 1 and you're like trying to rise from the ashes almost. But they did introduce the Flood, that's cool, everybody loves the Flood, and the way they did it, although it wasn't exactly conventional, I thought it was still pretty good, and I'd quite like to have seen where that had gone. Again, the show immediately got cancelled, so, I mean, we might now see it, but that was one thing I do feel like they did quite well. Ultimately though, now that Netflix has acquired the rights to this show, I think the best thing that they can do genuinely is just start from scratch. I can't understand how it's so difficult to make a Halo TV show, the same way I can't understand how it's so difficult to make a good Resident Evil movie or TV show adaptation. These are two franchises with so much incredible storytelling potential that it shouldn't be that difficult to adapt them to a more mainstream audience. Like, I genuinely feel like if you were going to make a Halo TV show, all you have to do is pretty much copy the games, and I guess you can't copy them play by play, and I do understand that, but realistically, the baseline story of Combat Evolved is really good, and it's quite simple at its core fundamentals. Chief ends up on a Halo ring, fights the aliens, discovers the Flood, blows up the Halo ring, and that's pretty much your story. However, in the show that we got, I don't think we're actually on a Halo ring for longer than 10 minutes total in 2 seasons. That is fucking insane. I think a big part of that, and all of the other issues that I've listed so far in this video, is the fact that the Halo TV show was using writers that didn't look at the video games. Now, to me, that's either just pure ignorance or unimaginable stupidity. Why would you look to adapt a video game franchise without looking at the source material for it? Where is the logic there? Again, I get, oh, they have their own silver timeline. Bollocks to that. You should still use the same assets from that series. It just gives a real sour taste that the writers of the show thought that they knew better. And clearly they fucking didn't, because their show was shit and it got cancelled after 2 seasons. But if you're going to continue on and make a series 3, you need to cut that shit out massively. I think it's also worth pointing out that if you want to make a Halo show that badly, you haven't necessarily got to just pull it from the mainline games with Chief in. Like, there's no reason why you couldn't try to adapt Halo Reach, for example, or say Halo 3 ODST. Like, those are pretty grounded, small-scale stories, and realistically, it would enable you to have a little bit more creativity with that material. Like, there's no reason why you couldn't follow another group of Spartans who were defending Reach at the same time that Noble Team was. Or a different group of ODSTs when shit was hitting the fan on Earth. Like, there's so many areas you can go within a Halo universe, it hasn't got to necessarily follow Chief. I mean, one thing that fans have literally wanted for, like, decades now is a Flood-style horror game. Why couldn't you try to adapt it and make a Flood-style horror show? There's definitely a market for it, and again, it allows you to build into a Halo universe without shitting all over the lore. Ultimately, I'll be honest, I really don't know what to make of this acquisition of the Halo TV show by Netflix. I'm a bit concerned it could mean that we get a Season 3. I really hope we don't. But if it means that there's the potential for another Halo project to be made, that's always going to spark my interest, even if the success rate with Halo projects in the last, 15 years has been pretty horseshit. Anyway, let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. Do you want to see more of this style of Halo TV show, or would you rather see it rebooted like myself? Thanks ever so much for watching. If you are new here, please do consider subscribing, as it really does help out the channel massively, and I'll hopefully see you in another video sometime soon.